Hello, I'm Natalia and I'm an English-speaking tour guide, interpreter and teacher. Today I'll discuss the rich and turbulent history of my home country, Ukraine, the history of a country the size of France, or even, as some sources claim, the largest country of Europe with some 46 million citizens today. Stay tuned. First of all, I'd like to say straight away that I'm not a historian and the subject I'm going to tackle here is new ground for me. Well, maybe not an entirely new ground, since I'm a certified tour guide and for the past 5 years I've been conducting English language tours around Kiev, my home city. As you know, the tour guide's job requires, if not an excellent understanding of the history of a city and even a country you are showing people around, then at least some sketchy grasp of this field. Another thing is that even though I'm not a historian, my father was one, and so this interest in history is probably part of my family DNA, if I can put it this way. To help me plunge into this new realm, I'm going to rely heavily on one book, which is called The Gates of Europe, A History of Ukraine. It was written by Serhiy Plokhy and was first published in 2015. This video is based on the introductory chapter of this book. The author of the book is a professor of Ukrainian history at Harvard University and a leading authority on Eastern Europe. The title of the book, The Gates of Europe, is of course a metaphor, but as you know, any metaphor has a grain of truth in it, and this one is no exception. The author claims that Ukraine has been a gateway to Europe for many centuries. And here's why. Ukraine helped stop a number of terrible foreign invasions that swept across its territory from east to west and vice versa at different points in its history. At the same time, in times of peace, Ukraine served as a bridge between Europe and Eurasia, which made it possible to exchange people, goods and ideas. Throughout centuries, Ukraine has been a meeting place and sometimes a battleground of various empires ranging from the Roman, Ottoman, Austro-Hungarian to the Russian Empire. Ukraine's history is incredibly rich. In the 18th century alone, Ukrainian lands were ruled from 4 places: St. Petersburg and Vienna, Warsaw and Istanbul. In the 19th century, the Ukrainian population was ruled from 2 capitals, St. Petersburg and Vienna, whereas for the most of the 20th century until 1991, when Ukraine gained independence, only Moscow ruled supreme over most of Ukraine's territory. Why Ukraine is called Ukraine? Over the course of its existence, Ukraine has been known under 2 names, Rus and Ukraine. The name Rus emerged in the Middle Ages as the official name of the country whose capital city was Kiev. This enormous country was home to the ancestors of today's Ukrainians, Russians and Belarusians, known as East Slavic nations. You may have noticed that the name Rus resonates with the name Russia, or its Slavic version Rossiya, which is the way the Greeks called Rus in the Middle Ages. In the 18th century, Moscow Kingdom adopted the name Russia as the official name of the Russian state and later on of the Russian Empire. In the 19th century, the Ukrainian elite, conscious of their distinct ethnic roots, decided to give up on the name Rus to distinguish themselves from Russians and Belarusians. So they adopted the name Ukraine instead. And again, why Ukraine? The name Ukraine was first mentioned in medieval chronicles in reference to the 3 principalities which made up the core of Rus. Over time, the name Ukraine came to mean the land under the control of Cossacks, or the Republic of Zaporozhian Cossacks army. For the unknowing, Cossacks were an army of local warriors who defended the borders of Ukraine from its innumerable enemies. The author of the book then goes on to say, quote, "In the collective mind of the 19th century activists, the Cossacks, most of whom were of local origin, were the quintessential Ukrainians," unquote. Throughout its history, Ukraine has been a truly multi-ethnic country, as it was home not only to Ukrainians but also to innumerable minorities, especially Poles, Jews, and Russians. Nowadays, after an independent Ukraine came into existence in 1991, all citizens of Ukraine have been officially defined as Ukrainians, whatever their ethnic background. And that's about it for today. I hope you've enjoyed my first video. If you want to continue listening to the Ukrainian story, do subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure to click on the like button below. If you have any comments, just put them in the comment section under this video. Stay with me. Bye!